Yes, Hiran, you can start.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Namaste. And I hope you're all doing good. And we are back and back with a bang. Of course, we had to, isn't it? Did you miss us? We did. Definitely, yes. But you know what? This month is the month of June. We are going to get the best of the experts, the leaders whom we know really, really well. And they are the one who has led even our country the last year. I think when all of us are under a shutdown and the schools had to be started, we know how much the teachers, they have taken in all the new things. They were ready to relearn, go online, go for virtual classes. But there was somebody who was always by their back, and it was their leader. And one such leader we have with us today, and that is Miss Suchita Malakar. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, thank you
Yes.
for having me in this show.
Yes. So Miss Suchita Malakar is the principal of Podar International School, Powai, Mumbai, and she heads the Cambridge Assessment and the International Education. Always a quick thinker with a transcendent vision, she has founded the school and brought it to the pinnacle of glory in the past 7 years. Being in the field of education since past 25 years across all the boards, including CBSE, ICSE, and the Cambridge International. A keen learner, even before the school could introduce the virtual platform of Google Meet and Zoom, she was actually the pioneer of e-learning, and hence you know why she is here with us. And of course, she is going to be and we are going to be talking about being a wizard of education. So Harsha, you will agree with me that it is always the leaders and the teachers whom I really consider on the top with the kind of situation that we are in the moment, and they are the ones who have led us not let our children down at all. What say, Harsha?
Absolutely, I 100% agree to you, Hiran, because it is the vision of the leaders that has led what wherever we are today. So, thank you for being such a wonderful leader, Miss Suchita. And Hiran, thank you so much for introducing Miss Suchita. Such a wonderful introduction. And we are waiting to hear from Miss Suchita. Over to you, Miss Suchita.
Thank you so much, and it's such a pleasure to be here. To begin with, I would like you all to go through a video that I'll be presenting soon. I hope
Yes, it is visible, ma'am.
audible. Yes. Well, so friends, this is what you have been seeing we are trying to achieve in its education. So, as I move ahead and I come to the end of the discussion, I shall get back to this video and try to understand what you have understood out of this video. Now, starting with the essentials of adulthood. What are we looking at as a growing adult? Decision making, problem solving, ethics, values, and morals. That is what we would like to bring about in our generation to come, in our youth for tomorrow. Now, the major question that is pertinent in each of our minds is, why are students sometimes unemployable today? We need to realize, what is the essence of education? What do we require to provide in our generations to come tomorrow? We realize they haven't practiced applying their learning to real world context. The emphasis is more on remembering and understanding, wherein we need to reach the higher order thinking skills of applying, analyzing, evaluating, and finally creating. So we need to create independent learners who think out of the box and are going to create a world which is different, not trained in the higher order thinking skills. That's why, as educators, we implore everybody to train themselves in achieving the higher order thinking skills. I'm sure all of you all are aware of the Bloom's taxonomy, where the lower order thinking skills, starting from remembering, understanding, you move on to the higher order thinking skills of applying, analyzing, evaluating, and the end product being creation. Now, the next thing that I would like each of you all, you are from various rungs of education, be it the preschool, the secondary, the higher secondary, or perhaps even teaching in graduate courses, is the Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. Let us not forget that at the end of the day, every child is intelligent. It is not only that we are looking at the intelligent quotient of a child. A child could be a logical person, a visual learner, a musical person, a intrapersonal, a kinesthetic person, a interpersonal person. He could be a naturalistic person or a linguistic. And that is what brings out the best in himself and carves a niche for himself as he goes in his years ahead. Now, this picture should tell you very clearly they are all from different fields of expertise. Now, I would like to know, why do you feel that each of them have thrived and reached the pinnacle of glory in their fields? Is perhaps because of the various intelligences that they possess and that have been tapped at the right time. So, as an educator, it is our primary duty to tap the best amongst our students, try to identify what they are suited for, what is best suited for them, and try to pep them up to adapt it. I'm not saying we can particularly pinpoint on a particular intelligence at the school level, but yes, it is our primary duty to provide a platform that would look into these plethora of intelligences and let them delve into it by themselves. Now, talking about the global trends in education. Is it always about preparing students for the workforce? Do you think that when we talk about a child growing up, is it that we are always working towards the workforce? Yes, because in today's global world, as the pandemic has taught us, we need to reach out to each other, to the corners of the universe at every point of time. And that is what we need to create in our learners and make them compatible to become citizens of the global world. If we are focused more on helping each individual develop their potentials, and we would realize that the workforce would automatically take care of themselves. And how do we do it? Well, we need to realize there has to be a formal part of learning, but yet, as I sit before you and I realize that formal learning has to be blended with technology to bring our workforce of tomorrow fit for the globalization of the world. Now, what about digital content in education? By incorporating modern education, we need to put in online assignments, video lectures in the classrooms, bring in a very interactive, robust session into your classrooms. And the advantage of a digital learning is that the introvert and the extrovert students are both capable of voicing their views. In fact, when I talk to my teachers, I realize in today's day and date with the pandemic coming in and us moving into the online platform, I have realized students who earlier used to shirk from coming out in the open and answering questions have become more extroverted. So that's something that's one of the biggest advantages with it. We could use different kind of web tools. I would love you all to delve into the various different tools that are available, the message boards, the forums, the online lectures. In fact, my teachers have come out with very new and innovative ways to use padlets, use the message box. There's something called I forget the name, where they use it as a tool in English. So there are many tools that are available. In fact, if your educational institution is ready to impart something to you, you can ask for a Google Cardboard. So these are various tools that would help you to reach out to your learners better. And now, what is the call of the day is blended learning. We want a blended learning environment where the teacher is not available in a teacher centric classroom, but it is a student centric or a learner centric classroom where the teacher is a director, rather than being a director of instruction, they are more termed as facilitators or activators, somebody who takes the lesson ahead. And that could be best propagated through a flipped classroom. I'm sure all of you all are aware of a flipped classroom. A flipped classroom is where the topic is given to the learner. They are given sufficient time to research on that topic, perhaps make a presentation on the topic. It could be a group presentation, but a research which is done 360-degree and is brought into the classroom by the group or the student and presented to the entire class. The teacher here merely acts as a facilitator. Now, talking about peer assessment, we realized in these times perhaps peer assessment has been one of the very powerful metacognitive tools. It supports the development of critical thinking, interpersonal, and other skills. I have been constantly talking about developing the critical thinking of our learners, the analytical and critical skills. So, these are tools that would help the child analyze as he assesses his peers along with himself. It enhances understanding within the field of knowledge of a discipline. It can be helpful in range of learning activities to critical and more public review. So when they are peer assessing each other, the student learns to be more critical and learns to analyze the particular concept better because he is seeing it from another point of view. And finally, it would promote project management and demonstrate various skills in our students. So that is something that we need to largely try and work upon. You give an assignment to a student, as you give it to your students, let them peer assess each other. That helps them develop a very critical understanding of the topic. And over and above, we need to strongly understand the importance of collaboration between partnership for 21st century skills. So, what is strongly a part of the 21st century skills is the four C's. We celebrate communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. So these are what are the immediate requirements in a classroom and an extremely essential skill for a 21st century learner. Now talking about, I have been telling you what are we going to delve into as we move into a classroom to become a wizard of education. So now one of the best propagated ways would also be self-organized learning environment. What is the short form abbreviation for it is SOUL. The SOUL was discovered by Professor Swagata, and he realized that if children were thrown ahead with a particular question or some query in their mind, and you gave them the platform to find out overall 360 degree mm, uh, 360-degree analysis of that particular question, that is when they would come out with various ways and a complete understanding of that particular concept with sometimes novel strategies and different solutions to the problem. So the question would be a big question designed to provoke curiosity in the mind of the learner. The second stage would be when the learner would now go into small groups. You could divide your classroom into small groups and give them a particular device, maybe a laptop or a computer or an iPad, and where they would now go into the path of investigation to try and understand. Like I have done this with my grade 1 students where they did a project on thoroughly investigating the question of why is the lion only known as the king of the jungle. So now every child had to be provoked to being thoughtful about was the lion justified in being the king of the jungle. They could have denied the fact, but they would investigate thoroughly to come out with an answer where they would deny and they would feel, yes, we feel the elephant could be the king of the jungle. So it gives you a 360-degree investigative vision of the entire concept. And finally, the review time when each group would present their discoveries to their audience. So that's a soul-induced learning environment. What would it develop in your learners? Collaboration and communication skills, creativity and innovation skills, critical thinking skills, self-direction skills, global and local connection. As I told you, the thought process should be globally oriented in today's world. And finally, a disruptive classroom. Well, I'm sure you're curious about how could a classroom be disruptive. Well, a disruptive learning environment is where we do not want a customized learning program. We want students to be digital natives. We want to integrate artificial intelligence, data analysis, and we want children to be encouraged in their critical thought process. That is what a disruptive classroom speaks about. And that is how a soul induced project largely creates an environment of a disruptive classroom. Now, coming to a disruptive learning environment, you have a customized learning platform, but where it would be facilitated by the teacher, but there would not be strong rules set for the children to do their research. Students, as I said, would be digital natives, they would use artificial intelligence, and they would develop critical thoughts. In fact, the cartoon below tells you this, that how do we select fairly in an examination where each of these animals are endowed with different skill sets. So that is what you are doing in a classroom. You are creating a fair environment where there are learners possessing different skill sets. Now, what can we do to stem knowledge dilution? Now we realize with the growing ways digitalization is moving in, children have access to innumerable devices and the internet and online information. So there is a lot of knowledge dilution that is happening. So you need to realize what you need to be aware so that knowledge is not diluted at its source. In fact, I remember one of the states coming out with a textbook in their state curriculum where they happened to put up the photograph of Milkha Singh as Milkha Singh in the movie, the actor in the movie. So the source of the textbook wasn't even aware of Milkha, the actual Milkha Singh, and what was the difference between Farhan Akhtar in the movie. So he must have picked up the photograph of Farhan Akhtar, and that is the way it was published. So at the end of the day, you need to be very careful about the dilution of knowledge. You need to raise awareness about dilution of knowledge and the risk to intellectual laziness. What is it? You go into net, you type out what you require, and you are not aware on the right kind of selection of information. So there is information that is wrongly taken and absolutely abused. So that is something you need to educate your students. You need to educate them about questioning information. Every information that we get today needs to be questioned at its source by anybody and everybody, be it on WhatsApp, be it on the net. So children actually understand what is the requirement of facts against misinterpreted information. Instill vetting discipline, pause, question before posting. So before you're posting something, before you're forwarding something, you need to think whether it's valid, whether the content is reliable. Provide trusted sources on different topics. In fact, when we come to our projects in the higher grades, when we send them to Cambridge, we realize plagiarism is one of the biggest factors that causes a child to be termed for his malpractice ways. So we need to be very clear from the beginning of teaching that children need to be sure about the source and to identify the sources in the material and not to copy verbatim from the information required. They need to adapt it in ways that are required by them in their own ways. And strengthening of critical thinking is very important. So this is what I have been speaking about throughout. Presently, we realize in today's day and date with the WhatsApp forwards, information galore, we realize that there are not only three monkeys, there are four. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, and post no evil. So, as educators, I would somewhere implore you from day one to work towards your children not posting any evil or posting any malicious information or posting false information on the net. Now, technology can become the wings that will allow the education world to fly faster and faster than ever before, if we will allow it. So, that is what is the crux of the story today, and that is what we want all our teachers to adapt to. Now, talking about the various intelligences that I was talking about, one needs to realize when you are dealing with a learner, it is very important to also realize the emotional quotient of a learner. Emotional quotient plays a large role to play in developing the skill set of an individual. So when you come to personal competence and social competence, it is very important that the individual is self-aware. He knows how to be aware of his own individual self, how to manage his own self. Maybe it might be time management, it might be his work management, his work and personal profile management, and his social competence. That is, social awareness and relationship management again become a large part of any individual's skill set. So these are something as educators we need to work on from the younger years. Emotional intelligence is being smarter with feelings. So how do you encourage a child's emotional intelligence? Mindfulness. All of you all are very well aware of this term. In today's day and date, it's become a mantra for excelling in whatever you are. Mindfulness is paying attention to a particular way on purpose at the being at the moment and looking at every situation non-judgmentally. So it is very important you teach your learner to be non-judgmental, but to be aware of where he is at that juncture. In fact, we train our teachers to be mindful about being in the classroom and trying to make the children adaptable in their mindful way to be present in that classroom. These are techniques that need to be taught to the learner today. Why is it useful? Our emotions often make us feel out of control. We do realize it. Today, if I have to be here, I would be maybe experiencing butterflies in my stomach. Oh my God, I need to be present in front of a massive audience. So often we realize our emotions are things that move out of control. Saying or doing something we often regret and we wish that we would not have done. So your learner, you yourself needs to be present at that time. You're not often aware of where you are. That is where we make mistakes in our judgment. Empowering for adults and children alike. So even a child needs to be empowered, to feel empowered that he is in a classroom and he is an integral part of that classroom where he needs to contribute largely into the classroom makeup. Now, what does it do? It improves attention in children, it develops a powerful connection and reduces anxiety. It increases in compassionate responses to others in need. In fact, teaching your child mindfulness is something that is one of the biggest ways in which you can create empathy in your learner, which is very much required in today's day and date. I'm sure as an educationist, you often face the problem of children fighting with each other, bullying each other. So the best thing would be trying to treat your children with the various facets of mindfulness. Now, what should be taught at the school level, largely we realize today, is personal finance, relationship values, mindfulness, survival skill, mental health, sustainable living, and human rights. Well, this is what I too felt was something very much required. In fact, I am planning to move into a small, short course of personal finance with my children, students from the younger years, because you need to teach them smart ways to invest, taxes, manage debts. These are things that actually bring a windfall in a person's life in their adulthood. Relationship values. You need to be, your learner needs to understand and spot manipulative, abusive behavior. They need to understand when they are being used, all about sexuality, relationships. That's very important. And as I already have tapped upon the importance of mindfulness, developing concentration and impulse control. Surviving skills. You need to be proactive, take control of your abilities to handle a dangerous situation that can be a confidence builder. We often see young children who are bullied somewhere are incapable of fighting their battles. And these are the survival skills that we need to teach our learners. Mental health, how to manage your stress, symptoms of depression, which we have seen largely growing during these times like we are in today, addictions, and one needs to learn to be frank and open in conversation with few people whom you feel you can trust. These are things that should be developed in our children. Sustainable living. Today we have realized climate change, eco-friendly lifestyles, local and seasonal foods that should be taken in. So these are things that should be developed in our children. Human rights, refugee rights, conflict solving situations. Do we realize why there is so much of conflict and so much of a war ridden environment through the whole world? It is because we have not let our children understand empathy during their younger years, the humane values that need to be rightly created in our learners. We have actually fitted them in an extremely highly competitive world, which should be restricted during their growing years. Finally, as the term comes from the business term, VUCA world, we live in a VUCA world, a world which is highly volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, that we realize is very pertinent during these pandemic times. So, what we as learners, we as teachers need to do is replace our volatility with a vision, uncertainty with understanding, complexity with clarity, and ambiguity finally with agility, which each of you all have shown. The kind of amazing agility you all have shown in taking up the online platform and delving deep into it has been amazing, and hats off to each of you in doing this. Finally, what we are looking at is the top five educational trends which you would have to look for in 2021. Nano learning. What nano learning implies is having small, bite sized learning solutions. Do not give them an information overload. Somewhere clip it into small sized learning concepts and identify the requirement of the students. Set your learning objectives very clearly before you start a concept. Choose your content. In what way would you like your content to be, through videos, apps, or podcasts? But keep them as short as possible, within 2 to 5 minutes, because we realize on the online screen we have seen a brevity of learner attention. And that is something you can do when you have different apps that you are using and you use your information in small and concrete sizes. And the final top five educational trends: virtual reality and augmented reality. As I was talking about the Google Cardboards, they largely use the virtual reality and augmented reality, which is amazing. In fact, if you go and search the net, my teachers have taken up beautiful videos, like in a French classroom. They took up a video of a tour of an entire city with the background conversation in French for our learners to hear French conversations and to themselves be adept with it. Field trips, language immersion, as I said, language. Field trips, one of my teachers have used a National Geographic augmented reality, which was available to show the various different kinds of landforms in the world. High-tech training, like anatomy of the body, if you would like to show your children, they are available. In fact, the Khan Academy has a lot of such virtual reality videos. Project-based learning, real life projects which where you do learning by doing. Our children, our little children, in fact, grade one was sent to Big Bazaar to understand the need for healthy foods. And that is when they learn to interview the clients at Big Bazaar or the shoppers at Big Bazaar to understand what were their needs. And that is how they realize the difference between um, healthy food and unhealthy eating. Students investigate and respond. And finally, what I have already clicked on is development of the 4 C's. So finally, what is the call of the day? Experiential learning, where students need to immerse in real life experiences. As I said, maintain a project which would help them to immerse themselves in real life situations, which perhaps during the pandemic might not be possible. But when you are having a physical classroom, take them out on a number of field trips to actually get the real feel of any situation. Practice planning, decision making, teamwork, and more. Collaboration is a large part of growing up and bringing the youth of tomorrow together. So, these collaborative exercises are very important, which you can do through role playing as well as field work. And finally, as all of you all are aware, online schooling. Well, so this is what we believe in. Educators can leverage technology to create an engaging and personalized environment. No longer does learning have to be one size fits all, as I showed you in the cartoon. The opportunities afforded by technology should be used to reimagine 21st century education, focusing on preparing students to be learners for life. So, what you are looking at is independent learners, learners for life, the youth of tomorrow. So, as Jack Fresco did mention, there is no way for you to make it on your own. Either we think globally or we perish individually. And thank you so much. I come to the end of my presentation and I shall be very happy to take in questions.
Wow, ma'am. I mean, that was a plethora of learning today that we saw. What I liked the best was about the soul learning. That was something new that I heard, and I think we would want to, go deeper into learning as to what is this soul learning and how it is going to help children. I'm sure the teachers, all the educators who have joined us today, they have taken in so many things. I love that fourth monkey, the three monkeys that we already know, but the fourth
Yes,
monkey is so
actually,
important.
that's very pertinent today. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. And about the VUCA world that we talk and how we change the terms from volatile to having a vision. I mean, these are the things that I think every educator, if they have it, and I'm sure that all the teachers there are, they know that a teacher's success begins with the success of their students. And hence, I think the teachers are actually going way ahead more than they can. They're researching, they're learning a lot of new techniques that they can make their learning style so interesting that the children are giving them that attention which lacks on an online platform, right? And
Yes,
taking risks, we are all taking risks, we are all learning and taking that risk, and we are putting it across like that. But with the points that you have put across, ma'am, I think we learned so much, so much.
thank
Thank
you
you, ma'am.
so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Harsha, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Suchita, for accepting our invite and being on our platform from the leader's desk. It was indeed a pleasure to listen to you. All the points beautifully explained, beautifully expressed, and the emotion with which you explained was very poised. So each and every point
Yes.
was immersed in all of us. So thank you so much, Ms.
Thank
Sucheta,
you so
and
much.
looking forward for further associations with H2 Associates. Thank you so much,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Harsha
ma'am.
and Hiran.
Thank you for being a
It was
part
a
of that.
pleasure for me as well. In fact, I owe a lot to you that you all reach out to educators today who are maybe even stationed in remote places and who pick up the nuances of education to bring about learning in such a robust way. Thank you so much for inviting.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much, ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Thank you.